Hi guys, welcome to my channel. For those of you new here, my name is Donna, and for those of you not new, thank you so much for continuing to come back and support my channel. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys so very much. Today we're doing the next installment in my Palette Roulette series, in which I let an app choose a palette for me to use for the next week and then come back to you and discuss it and my findings and my uses of it. I insert pictures, you see swatches, we talk about all the things for the palette. Today, the palette that I am going over with you is the Colourpop Yes Please palette. It looks like this on front. You see it says Cute AF on front, but this is the Yes Please palette. It did come with a sleeve over the top of it that was yellow that said Colourpop Yes Please, but on the front of the palette it says Cute AF, and you can see it's white packaging and it is really disgustingly dirty. And this is the back where it does say Yes Please, and it has all the shadow names on it. This is a Colourpop palette. This is, I think, if I remember correctly, one of the first palettes that they made. It is a 12 pan palette. It looks like this on the inside. There is no mirror. It just says Colourpop, hashtag Colourpop me on the inside, and then these are the shades in the palette. Again, you can see it is a dirty sucker. This is a palette that I used a lot when I first purchased it. If I remember correctly, I purchased it because there was a YouTuber who I just recently found again on Instagram, but I used to watch her all the time. Her channel name was Liv Loves Her Makeup, but I watched her all the time. I loved her, and she used this palette all the time. So I purchased it, and what I think it was boasted as was a kind of quasi dupe for the Natasha Denona Sunset palette, which had just launched as well. I think maybe the year before. I am not really sure. This was really early in my makeup journey that I dove into this. So just a little bit of tidbit of information about this palette. Colourpop Cute AF or Yes Please palette is a 5-star rated palette on the Colourpop website. It does have 2,125 reviews, so to have that many reviews and still be a 5-star palette is amazing in my opinion. There's 0.85 grams in this palette, or 0.03 grams of product per pan. Or not grams, ounces, 0.03 ounces of product per pan. What I do know is their singles are typically 0.04, 0.05, so it is, the pan size in this is a little bit smaller than the regular single pan palettes that you get from Colourpop, but I don't feel like that is anything to speak of. I don't think it's going to be a make or break for anybody, considering I have several Colourpop singles that are the bigger size pan that I have yet to, that I've owned for 2 years, that I have yet to pan. They last just forever. They're super firmly pressed, which is great because they don't really tend to have a lot of kick up with them, but they are also super silky, creamy, velvety shadows. There were a couple in here that are kind of more textury or silk, or less silky than the others, and that is this one here and this one here, and I feel like this one here. Which is weird because those are all matte shadows, and typically if a shadow has a little more grippy of a feel, it is one of the metallics or the shimmer shades that are within a palette, but I don't feel that way about any of the shimmer shades in here. I think that they are so creamy and buttery. It blends because of that. These colors just blend out so nicely with anything that you put with them. There are 8 mattes, 2 duochromes, and 2 metallics in this palette. This one here and this one here are your duochromes, and then this one here and this one here are just your regular metallics, and the rest are matte. So you have I have some swatches for you. And because I am a horrible swatcher, as you guys can see, I am going to insert the picture of my swatches here and talk a little bit about them with you guys. The first one here is Full Zip. It is a warm ivory matte shade, and it is a beautiful brow bone color. It is what I wore in my brow bone almost every single day. It is also a color that I used to lighten up a look if I went a little ham. Then you have Big Cocktails, which is a orange matte shade. It is really a vibrant orange. Then you have Champs, which is a pale peach matte. I also used this to help me tone down a shade if I went a little ham on it. It is the color that I kind of put in this morning into this area to tone down what I did to it previous, because it was just looking like a stark red eye and I didn't want it to look like that on camera. So I went ahead and toned it down with that. I still wanted it to have a little bit of peachiness to it, but not as stark as what it was. So I did tone it down with that color. Bling, which is a metallic rust color. It does have like a real, like almost burgundy-esque color to it. Then you have Louis, which is one of your duochromes. It is a duochrome red gold that really kind of actually looks orange on the eye. I really do love it. It was a beautiful color and I used it often, but it really does just kind of translate to orange on the eye. Then you have Buttercake, which is a perfect gold in my opinion. It is just a real pale gold metallic that doesn't translate as a gold on your eye, and I really don't like golds, so I loved that one. I love the name of it because it perfectly describes it. Buttercake. It does look like a pat of butter. Then you have Spoiled, which is a red matte. It is a pretty red matte, but it is not like a true red matte. Then you have, I think that this is GNO, I don't know, it's GNO is what, and it's in all caps on the packaging, so I'm sure that that has meaning. It is a matte burnt orange that really translates to like an orangey brown, a warm brown color on your eye. Then you have Mischief, which is a matte warm yellow, and it really is a beautiful yellow, and it really translates very well as a yellow onto your eye. I think that I used it on several eye looks just as a buffing out shade at the top of, like, lower than your brow bone, but at the top of my crease color that I have buffed clear up to the brow bone, and it's just beautiful. I don't know what that was. Then you have Note to Self, which is a matte caramel. It is a really pretty caramel shade, and it actually is the color that I put on top of this eye look that I had to buff out with the peach color because I went a little ham with it. It can be very opaque in nature, or you can sheer it out, and it is a really pretty beautiful caramel color. Then you have Chauffeur, which is the other duochrome in the palette, and it is an orange gold, and it is so pretty. Then you have, lastly, French Kiss, which is a matte chocolate brown, and it is the shade that I use to deepen up a lot of looks. I used that shade in addition to the red to create kind of a like purple, a violet with an eye look that I did, which, speaking of, I'm gonna scooch over so I can put some pictures in here. I did pair this palette with a lot of my singles, cream singles and liquid singles. Cream single especially from Sydney Grace, which is that hot pink eye look, and then the purple eye look I used a Cover FX liquid eyeshadow in the shade Amethyst all over my lid, and then really used what was in my palette to mix together colors to come up with kind of a beigey purple mix to it on the outer corner and throughout the crease. So all of the shadows except for those two were out of this palette. I did use every single one. They are super long wearing with or without primer. They do wear very well and for great lengths of time. I would say a good 14-15 hours on my eye before they really started breaking down. As a matter of fact, not that I want to admit this, but I went to bed last night with my makeup on. I just kind of fell asleep on the couch. I do that occasionally. I hate doing it, but I do that occasionally. And I woke up this morning and my eye look from yesterday, which is an orange one that I will put in here, was the same exact way as I had left it, except for maybe the shimmeriness was no longer there. It just looked like a matte orange eye, but all of the colors were still there and it still looked amazing this morning when I took it off. I kind of felt like I should have just done my video at that point in time, but I hate falling asleep with my makeup. It's horrible to do. So I just went ahead and took it off, and we'll call it good. But with that being said, that eye look had been on my eyes since we did something yesterday for my birthday, like went and did something that we had never done before. It's called Pick Out of the Park, and it is in the Spokane area, and it is amazing. Food truck vendor craziness, a giant festival, 4 stages, bunch of concerts. Coolio was there, and it was just crazy, and I loved it. But I spent an uber amount of money on nothing really, just food, and had a great time, and it was something we had never done before. But we got home, I was exhausted, I sat down on the couch and fell right asleep. That eye look had been on my eye since about 9 o'clock that morning, and I took it off at about 9 o'clock this morning. So a good 24 hours, and the only thing out of that eye look that really seemed to have dissipated was the shimmeriness of the shimmer shades. It just looked like a matte eye look, which I was okay with. It still looked amazing. So not saying sleep in your makeup, but I am saying the longevity of these shadows is amazing. They blend out on par with larger brands that have great blending quality. I would say they blend better than, say, some of my Natasha Denona shadows, definitely better than Viseart shadows. They are $5 to $6 per pan, and they blend out so spectacularly. They play well with others, the cream shadows and the liquid eyeshadow that I used in 2 different looks while doing this. It blended well with those, and sometimes eyeshadows don't blend well with others. It just doesn't happen. They don't play well with cream or liquid shadows. These ones did. Colourpop with or without primer functions the exact same. The only thing I would say is because of some of the shadows in this palette, so like this yellow and this orange and this red, you maybe want to use like a base that covers all the other coloring in your skin, so that you are laying down a base that the color can go on top of and really, really be, you know, spectacular. But other than that, like, you don't need it. There's still pigmentation. They're very opaque in nature, so you don't really need a white base shadow. I didn't use a white base shadow. The eyeshadow primer that I used the entire time I was using this palette, except for the 2 days that I used it without, is my MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot, and I feel like that was good enough to blur everything else out to allow for a great, nice color base. There was a couple days that I left the paint pot tacky, and it applied very well over the top of the tacky base, and a couple days that I laid down the full zip shadow, the one that's here, to lay over the top of it, just so that there was a nice, you know, seamless powdery finish for them to blend over. It didn't affect how they blended at all. Colourpop is amazing. I will always be a fan of Colourpop. I will always boast Colourpop eyeshadows as being so great for the amount of money that you pay for them. They really do perform like a luxury shadow does, or I shouldn't say luxury shadow because I don't have luxury shadows, but high end. I have a lot of high end. I mean, unless you consider Pat McGrath, I guess, is a luxury shadow. Natasha Denona, I would say, I guess, would be a luxury shadow, right? Am I wrong in that? They blend just as well as those, sometimes better than those, and they're $5 a piece. So with that being said, this was an amazing palette. This palette will continue to stay in my collection, even though it's a dirty, dirty, dirty pig. I think the one thing I would change about this palette is I would have changed the color of the palette to not white. I have a huge problem with white packaging, and as you can see, the palette itself is really freaking gross. And even this part is really freaking gross. Can you guys see all the griminess? It's just, white just gets so dirty so quickly. So that is all I have to say about the Colourpop eyeshadow palette. Let me know if you guys have this palette and what you think of it. I do believe that it was one of their first eyeshadow palettes that they put together. I know prior to that point you could buy all kinds of singles, but I think this might have been the first one that they came up with. I love it. I love it, and I'm not sad that I ever purchased it. So with that being said, we're gonna move on and pick my palette for the coming week. I do have a Samsung Note 9, just dropped my phone. That hurt. I do use the Decide Now app, which you can find on the Play Store. And you can find any kind of Wheel of Fortune deciding app on any service program for phones. That much I know, because the person that I pulled inspiration for this video from has an iPhone and uses a Wheel of Fortune type app as well. So what I did is put all of my palettes in my collection into this app, and as we do these palette roulette videos, I just take the ones that we used out. Any new ones that come into my collection, I put them in. Eventually we'll get through them all, but I am a palette hoarder, so, and have an affinity for palettes and buy too many, I feel like sometimes, but I love palettes. They're my makeup happy spot. So anyways, to choose the next palette, we just push this button here and it spins, and it's not being loud. So we have the Morphe Oh My Gorge palette, which is actually perfect. Today, as I'm filming this, it is the 1st of September. We're going into fall, and I love fall, love, love, love fall. And this palette reminds me of fall, and it's also a palette that I haven't used before, ever. So let's go grab it. I'll be right back. This is the palette that my Decide Now app chose. This is a palette I haven't used yet. This is the Morphe Oh My Gorge palette, and it is the 9G. It is not a recent addition to my collection, but it is a palette I've never used yet. So it's very fall-esque. I'm super excited to use it. This is what the shadows look like. It does have a mirror in it, which is unusual for a Morphe palette. It is a 9-pan palette, and these are the shadows. So I'm super excited to use this, super excited to come back to you next week and talk to you a little bit about this palette. And I can't wait for fall. For those of you interested, the PSL did recently start back up at Starbucks. So on PSL day, I wore a bright orange shirt and black pants that were kind of like flowy. And one of the GMs at one of my store was like, I don't know if you did it on purpose today, but you kind of look like Hocus Pocus. And I was like, I love fall. I love fall. I love fall. And then I was like, wait, Sarah Jessica Parker Hocus Pocus or Kathy Najimy? Either way, I would not balk because I love that movie. That's probably my favorite fall movie. I love it. So super excited to use this palette, super excited to go into fall, super excited that we just embarked into my birthday month, and super excited that I have a giveaway to do in a couple of days. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, if you enjoyed it or me enough, I'm hoping that you'll consider subscribing to my channel before you leave today. If you do that, please don't forget to hit the bell. It does notify you every single time I upload, and like I said earlier, I'm having a lot of technological issues these days. I'm somewhat ashamed to say, because I am a smart girl. I just can't figure out this stuff. but this will ensure that you do get notified every single time I upload. I do typically upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday or Sunday, and typically upload at 9 a.m. on those days, but sometimes, especially here lately, it has changed quite a bit. Thank you again for joining me today. Let me know if you're tagging along on this palette roulette journey of ours and what palette you are using this week, in this coming week. Let me know if you have either of the palettes that I spoke about today. I would love to hear your thoughts on either the Colourpop Yes Please or the Morphe Oh My Gorge. And until next time, guys, bye. Do you guys like my hair today? It's asymmetrical, so I never wear it like this because this hangs a lot, you know, this side hangs a lot lower than the other, but I'm kind of digging the part down the middle today. I don't know why. I'm tucked behind my ears. I don't know, my hair's, I'm feeling a little wonky with my hair these days. I think that it's time for another big change. What color? My card got full and I'm not sure what this recorded. I'm hoping it recorded everything. I've had so many problems with technology lately that I'm starting to drive myself nuts. So I hope that I recorded everything. If not, this is the palette that, well, if not, if it did, whatever. Also, if you enjoyed it or me enough, I'm hoping that you're considering